My name is Jacques Karé Puidi. I am a Kanak. In our language, that means a man. Well, let's not be sexist about it. A human being. This is my country. You might know it as New Caledonia, but we call it Kanaki. Like Solomon Islanders, Papua New Guineans, and New Vanuatu, we are Melanesians. We have been on this island for thousands of years, before the French colonized us in the second half of the 19th century. We are not French. We are very different. We have our own culture, our own social rules. We speak our own languages. Like most colonized people, we want our independence for our dignity and the preservation of our identity. So as Kanaks, we are actively pursuing our right to self-determination. Chibau is the president of the FLNKS, the Kanak Socialist Liberation Front. It leads our struggle for independence. Yesterday, the French held a referendum, but it was held without involving us, the traditional people, knowing that we, now a minority, could not win. To show our disagreement with the referendum, we decided to take up non-violent actions, like a long march. It was to start at the far north of Kanaki and end down south in the white city of Nouméa. Then came the ban on the big march.
Le gouvernement a peur de notre présence. Le gouvernement n'ose pas permettre que les Kanaks mobilisés soient sur la route.
The funny thing is, in France, which defines itself as democratic, a pacifist march is a people's right. But not here in Kanaki. Despite the banning, we decided to maintain our program of non-violent actions, but organized now in different ways. This is Moravel and Pierre Lanquette, the main Kanak suburb of Nouméa. Everyone coming in or going out is checked by the CRS, a special French riot squad. This situation here gives me a quite scary feeling. Just imagine for a moment that you, in Australia, have to be stopped by armed police and to present your ID cards every time you going to or coming from work or even a supermarket. I feel like I'm living in a police state. I wanted to say more in that statement to camera, but I was too scared in front of the CRS. The first thing you notice in Nouméa is the blue uniforms of the CRS. They are everywhere, in the streets, on the beaches, in hotels.
Vous donnez l'appel enquête? Merci. Allez-y.
This armed police presence in Nouméa just contributes to the tension already there. And the roadblocks are only for the Kanak zone. There are no identity controls like this in the white suburbs. But outside Nouméa, the context is different. The balance of power favors Kanaks. And despite the presence of heavily armed French forces throughout the bush, we are still able to organize during this period of mobilization. Here in Vieux-Touo, the local Kanaks have organized a march. One of the organizers, Dan Poigoun, explains why they're marching.
C'est de dénoncer toute la politique du gouvernement français ici en Nouvelle-Calédonie, à travers le gouvernement Chirac, représenté en Nouvelle-Calédonie par France. Alors, cette politique se traduit concrètement sur le terrain par une recolonisation des terres revendiquée par les Kanaks, recolonisation menée par l'ANDRAF, à travers l'ANDRAF. Ensuite, la nomadisation militaire qui est en Nouvelle-Calédonie, le quadrillage des tribus Kanaks, des communes, qui font apparaître qu'ici en Nouvelle-Calédonie, on est presque dans un état de guerre. Ici, avec la présence de tous ces militaires.
Allô, c'est le comité organisateur là, hein, qui...
So yet another meeting takes place in the bush. And yet again under the watchful eye of the gendarmerie. But when the gendarmes saw our camera, the captain ordered his troops back in the trucks and retreat out of sight.
Voilà, voilà ce qu'on veut dire. Parce qu'ils font semblant de faire du bien. Hein? Vous transportez, venir taper dans le ballon avec vous, au football, au volley, hein? Venir repeindre une maison, vous aider à construire une maison.
Bonjour monsieur.
Messieurs, bonjour.
Une télévision australienne.
Oui.
On peut vous demander qu'est-ce que vous êtes venu faire ici?
Tout ce que je peux vous répondre, c'est que nous pensions que vous étiez que ces gens-là étaient sur la chaussée, tout simplement.
Et là, qu'est-ce que vous pensez que ça va se passer là?
Bah, je pense que ça va rester dans le calme, tout simplement, sans
Bon.
plus. Je vous demanderai, s'il vous plaît, monsieur, d'arrêter votre filmage, n'est-ce pas?
He's asking us to stop filming.
All right. Merci. Ça suffit.
Despite official permission to film in New Caledonia, the local gendarmes are not happy to see their faces on the screen.
Monsieur, contrôle d'identité.
Ah oui, les papiers sont...
Vous allez me les chercher, s'il vous plaît?
Ouais.
Mais regardez, quand vous revendiquez vos droits, le droit du peuple kanak sur ce pays, ils sont là. Refusez à ces gens-là de s'installer dans les tribus. Rappelez qu'il ne faut pas répondre à la provocation, ni provoquer. Exactement, ils sont en train de provoquer le milieu. Hein? Mais vous vous trompez, monsieur.
This is Kumak on the west coast. When the authorities banned our long march, this was yet another local response by the FLNKS. This time, a cultural workshop. Because of our oral tradition, we feel the need to write down our languages. Unlike many colonized people, Kanaks still fully speak our 32 regional languages, although we use French as a common language. The exercise here is to collect all the vocabulary by using concrete examples, like a coconut tree, and listing every part of it. It's a crucial workshop that needs the knowledge of the elders and interest from the young. It's an attempt to keep our languages alive as the only language taught in schools is French. And just beside the language workshop, some information about nutrition and traditional crops. Because most of my people live outside the monetary circuit, they must maintain their own self-sufficiency in food. Entertainment is not forgotten. Guess what? A play on the recent march in Nouméa and the reaction of the police through the eyes of Kanak kids.
Dégagez de là! Vous allez dégager de là, quoi. Vous savez pas, Père Napoléon a dit que c'est interdit de faire la marche. Regardez ce bon dessin. Coche jusqu'à 3. Coche jusqu'à 3. Je coche jusqu'à 3, vous êtes plus là. 1, 2, 3. Dégagez.
Activities like this were organized throughout Kanaki by the FLNKS. They are a tribute to the strength of the Kanak communities, so strong that no colonial power can destroy them. To understand that strength, you must understand the Kanak's ties to their land. Like the Aborigines in Australia, land is special to us. This is the Wailu Valley, where my tribe used to live. Before the French came, we farmed the whole valley. You can still see over there terraces where we used to grow taro. But the colonialists wanted the best land. So they stole our land by pushing us with cattle and barbed wire further up the valley, where it's harder to farm. When the French arrived in the 1850s, they set up a system of reserves for Kanaks. But in 1897, they reduced all reserves to only 3 hectares per Kanak. Today, we still live within the colonial boundaries, forced into marginal land on the coastline, beside rivers, or high in the valleys. We are a growing population and we need a full range of crops to ensure our viable future. Bananas are great, but not enough. Kanaks today control only 20% of their land. How can you survive properly in conditions like this? The small parcels of land don't allow us to farm on bigger plots and so force us back on self-sufficiency for survival. This is one such Kanak project funded from the days of the previous French government. It's Nepia in Poneriwen on the East Coast. It's a research and training project into new farming methods. Young people will come from all over Kanaki for 2 or 3 months and take the knowledge back to their tribes. The European farmers have tended to graze only cattle. Here, the strategy is to diversify. Hopefully, after independence, we won't have to import honey. Two weeks ago in Pointe-Bout, on the west coast, Joseph Suginati was woken by the sound of helicopters. The guard mobiles were looking for his brother.
Les gardes mobiles, ils étaient où?
Ils étaient là.
Ils étaient là, là? Puis c'était combien?
C'était au moins une cinquantaine.
Et puis qu'est-ce qu'ils t'ont dit?
Demandé de lever les mains en l'air.
Oui.
Quand je suis arrivé là,
Il t'a fait un croche-pied.
Je suis tombé.
Tu es tombé par terre ici?
Ouais, ici, par terre.
Puis après?
Après, ils m'ont entraîné.
T'entraîner jusqu'où là?
Jusqu'en bas.
Jusqu'ici là?
Après, là, ils m'ont retourné, puis ils m'ont mis le pied sur le dos.
Et puis, t'es resté un moment
Je suis
là?
resté un moment. Ça.
Puis qu'est-ce qu'il faisait?
Demandé s'il n'y avait personne dans la maison.
Et puis toi qu'est-ce que t'as répondu?
J'ai dit à personne, j'étais tout seul avec la grand-mère.
Et après, ils ont fait quoi?
Après, ils ont été fouillés la maison.
Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Qu'est-ce qu'ils ont fait ici?
Ben, ils ont cassé les portes, les vitres, là. Coup de crosse, t'as viré.
C'est eux qui ont fait ça?
C'est eux qui ont fait ça, là, tout cassé.
Ils ont cassé les portes, comment ils ont fait?
À coup de botte, là. Coup de botte ou à coup de crosse, là.
Tout ça là?
Ouais, coup de crosse. Ça, ici.
Où? Là?
Ouais, ici. Là. Puis ils ont balancé une grenade, là. Puis le lit, il a pris feu.
Et
Ouais.
ils ont balancé une grenade dans la maison?
Dans la maison. Puis le lit, il a pris feu. Tiens, voilà le cuillère, là. La grenade.
Ça, c'est la cuillère de la grenade. La grenade est tombée sur le lit, hein?
Ouais, puis elle a pris feu. Elle a pris feu, puis après, ils ont ramené le lit dehors.
French authorities justify this to keep law and order. For us, it looks like disorder and intimidation. Intimidation in our homes, in our villages, and even on the road. We were driving from Yengen to Nouméa, a 5-hour trip. We were stopped 4 times for identity control.
Ok.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir, monsieur.
Appelle l'escadron à 20 et tu demandes... Tu réveilles la brigade. Monsieur à l'arrière, ouais.
Okay, your passport.
Hein?
Là, je parle. Give me your papers. Your passport?
For most Kanaks out in the bush, the whole idea of identity controls is a foreign one. It's part of the whole clash of cultures. I hope this gives you some idea of what it's like to be a Kanak living under French colonial rule. I feel subjugated, discriminated against, and angry that our claims for independence are greeted with such derision. We consider yesterday's referendum as meaningless farce. It is meaningless when we do not discuss the thing about which we Kanaks must voice our opinion. There was no attempt to discuss its terms with us. Dialogue to the French means monologue from them. Jacques Chirac and Bernard Ponce have consistently set out to ensure they get the result they want. For us, the fundamental question is decolonization. The United Nations recognize it. New Caledonia is listed back among non-self-governing territories. The UN have a set of principles for acts of self-determination that France has ignored. The colonial power is not neutral. There is a military occupation of the country. There has been no information period for people to freely decide.